Hey there guys, so we're going to be taking a look at Payday 2 running on the AMD Ryzen 5 5600H running on the Beelink SER5 Mini PC. Before we start, here are the graphics settings that I actually ended up using. It's pretty much a mix of low to medium settings. Really, I just kept the textures on high. I made sure the shadows were at the lowest. Anisotropic filtering I kept at 16x. Animation quality is at high, and I did keep anti-aliasing on with MSAA. Everything else is pretty just basic. I kept most of the effects off because really I don't really like most post-processing effects anyway. So in general, this is what I ended up going with. But jumping right into the game, and this is running on the Beelink SER5 Mini PC, you can see here the level of performance that we're getting. In general, it was a pretty enjoyable experience to play like this. For most of the experience, we're going to have around a 60 FPS average, with our 1% lows dropping into the mid 40s. In general, I had very little to complain about here. I really didn't feel like the system was holding me back in any meaningful way, and I think you're going to have a pretty decent time in general playing like this. It definitely feels like a console experience in the sense that we are pretty much at that 60 FPS average with the occasional dip here and there, but if you look at those frame time charts, they are very consistent. Now the game does run on DirectX 9, which means that it is a potential candidate for having some benefits with DXVK, so that might actually be something that I test out later on. But in general, the level of performance that we were getting here was already decent enough that really you don't need something like that. It's not going to be a game changer. It's not going to boost you to a territory where you're now going to be able to have a great experience. The great experience is already there. Now certainly you could try to go for a higher FPS by just lowering the resolution or adjusting the graphics settings, but considering that this isn't exactly a competitive shooter or anything like that, at the end of the day you're just going to be going up against hordes of AI. You don't really need a ultra high refresh rate experience in this game. Now, perhaps maybe if you're one of those people that goes really intense in this and you really want to play it with the most ridiculous difficulty settings where there are just hordes and hordes of police coming at you, where you just clear out pretty much entire police departments of people, then perhaps you might want to have a little boost in overall performance. And what I found was that by turning down all of the graphics settings that we had turned up earlier, you're going to get a small little bump in the overall performance. So everything that was pretty much set to medium or turned on, we pretty much just end up turning off. Like I turned off AA, animations are down to their lowest, anisotropic filtering is completely off. All of those different things I just turned off, and we pretty much ended up seeing just a small little bump in FPS, where we went from essentially having a 62 FPS average up to a 70 FPS average. The 1% lows also saw a minor bump, but nothing too dramatic. Now again, if you're looking to maximize your performance, you can obviously do this so that you have a very consistent above 60 FPS average, but if it's still not enough for you, you can always drop down the resolution to 900p, but I feel like that's very unnecessary, and you're only really going to be doing that if you're really trying to get a high refresh rate experience, and I don't think that the sacrifice in resolution is really going to be worthwhile in that situation. But that's pretty much going to be your judgment call at that point. But anyways, I hope you guys found this look at Payday 2 running on the AMD Ryzen 5 5600H on the Beelink SER5 Mini PC to be useful, interesting, or entertaining. This is definitely one of those games where I consider it an absolute win, especially because you can just play it with your friends and have a great time. You're never going to feel like you're being held back by the system, and you don't really have to sacrifice anything visually speaking to get great performance. I definitely plan on testing it out with DXVK and see if that actually gives us any meaningful gains whatsoever, but overall I'm very happy with these results, and it's the perfect kind of game to play on this mini PC. You get excellent performance, you don't have to sacrifice much in terms of visual quality at all, and you get an experience that feels super smooth. There really is very little to complain about in this configuration, and it really just shows how powerful this mini PC can actually be, where you can get a really rock solid experience in a very popular game like this. If you've never actually played Payday 2, I definitely recommend picking it up, especially if you and your friends are looking for a co-op game to play together. There's a lot of content here and you can have a lot of fun, and really at this point it's just an absolute classic. But anyways, I will catch you guys in the next one.